Welcome to Biology Career Insights podcast. Today, we are joined by Dr. Ingmar Hoerr, a visionary scientist, entrepreneur, and one of the true pioneers of mRNA therapeutics. As the founder and former CEO of CureVac, Dr. Hoerr helped launch a new era in medicine, long before mRNA became a household word. His work laid the foundation for mRNA-based vaccines and therapies that are transforming global health. From his early fascination with biology to groundbreaking PhD discovery that sparked a biotech revolution, Dr. Hoerr's journey embodies both scientific curiosity and entrepreneurial courage. Today, we'll explore that story and what comes next in the mRNA revolution. Thank you so much, Dr. Ingmar, for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So, we want to really dig in deep here. We want to know everything about you, your career journey so far. So, tell us where you were born and what basically inspired you to pursue biology later in.
I was born in the region here in Swabia, Neckarsulm, not too far. It's Heilbronn, and I was raised in Nöttingen. It's in the Neckar
Near
Valley,
Stuttgart.
close to Stuttgart, right? And I was in a middle school in the beginning, so I wasn't that bright. But in the middle school, I learned a lot on chemistry, physics, and biology as well. So therefore, I went to ongoing on to a next school, a kind of high school thing. So to do my graduation, and this was agriculture. It was kind of agricultural school. I went there. So 3 years from grade 11 to grade 13. So I did there my graduation, my school graduation, and then I was doing a civil service. So I didn't go to the army. I went to rescue. I was trained as a rescue driver, ambulance. So there also I saw that medicine is not my thing. I don't really want to work all the time with people and with ill people. It's not that thing. I wanted more in the direction of research. Therefore, I have chosen biology in the beginning. And in the beginning, it was more about nature, about ecology, marine biology. I was very interested in this kind of things. And during the studies, I was really, really fascinated by microbiology, going down into the narrow space, virology, bacteriology, and this kind of things, and why people get ill, why there are infections, how the bacterials they evolve, how they replicate, this kind of things. So it was very fascinating. And in the end, I was really into immunology because I love very much to understand how the body is defeating illnesses and cancer and so on. And so then I did a kind of PhD work in immunology on the RNA
Wow.
space, actually.
Fantastic. So, but as a child, was there was there some aspirations that, you wanted to become a scientist or maybe something else, maybe a footballer or something like that? So did you, because, you become serious about career options only
Yeah.
later in life. So
Yeah.
any childhood dreams that you had?
I was very fascinated by pioneers. So I was reading a lot of books of the diver Hans Hass, the German diver. He evolved the diving in the 30s or 20s last century, and he was also doing expeditions to Maldives Island, for example, things like that. And from the nothing, he didn't have any money, but he brought everything together. He put movies and he gained money, and then he was doing also kind of research trips for sharks, for example. So this was very fascinating for me as a child. And the other guy was Rolo Gebhardt. He was traveling around the world with a sailing boat alone. So this was also very fascinating. So it's always kind of pioneering things. And there was another guy, it was Rüdiger Neberg. He's very famous in Germany. He was a survival thing. He was a survivor. So he was always doing survival things. So he was working through Germany from north to south or from south to north without having any food. So therefore he was hunting and was eating mice and whatever, and frogs, I don't know. So he was kind of really crazy guy. And I loved these kind of pioneering guys. So actually I was very inspired by pioneering.
Fantastic. And so, and then, so did you kind of try that, I'd become, perhaps that's why you chose agriculture? So
No,
for
it
your
was
bachelor's,
just a possibility. I was in a middle school and there was a possibility economics, for example, social things. And the other one, which was very narrow to science, was agriculture, because we have PhD, we have biology and chemistry as main classes. So therefore I have chosen that. And of course, then I also worked and had to do some practical courses I was studying the cow and the pigs, But the pigs are kind of the human organisms. It's the same whether
It's
you
a
work
very
with pigs
similar
or humans.
setting.
It's a very similar setting, right?
Wow. Wow. And then was it like, you had a plan that you will do a PhD and become a professor, or you just thought like one thing led to another and then you ended up doing a PhD? Or you had a long vision in mind?
Well, of course, yeah, when you start science, especially biology, you have to do a PhD, otherwise you don't get any job. So I was quite open. I also looked getting a job in industry, for example, pharma industry, things like that. So I was very open, but it was really fun to study in a broad range, the things, botanics, zoology, and this kind of things as well. And then I specialized then a little more in microbiology and biology. So I really was fascinated by the small things.
So basically, when I was reading about you, I found out that you made a discovery just during your PhD that would later go on to change medicine, basically. Do you remember the exact moment when you realized mRNA could work as a therapeutic, for example?
Yes, I get from my PhD father, Professor Hans-Georg Rammensee, I got the task to work on RNA because he visited a conference in the States where somebody was working with RNA and encoding the RNA in liposomes. And he asked me to repeat this experiment and encode as well RNA into liposomes. I was collaborating with Günter Jung, a chemist, and he developed some liposomes, so therefore it was a perfect in between. So I was working on chemistry as well on biology, microbiology or immunology, and I was using and utilizing the liposomes. This was the main task. And then I did a control. I was injecting mice with naked RNA. And I did the positive control was a DNA. Everybody was working 20 years back or 30 years back with DNA plasmids, with viruses. And I was working with plasmid. I was injecting a plasmid. And the naked RNA was just a kind of negative control because I thought this is completely destroyed. RNA is very unstable. It's destroyed within seconds. And then it worked out that the naked RNA was much better than everything else. So I was thinking, well, that's a mistake. There was any mistake there. A mismatch between DNA and RNA. As I repeated this experiment, and then I got the results, and then I was really excited, and it was evening already, and then I was jumping to Hans-Georg Rammensee or pick up the phone and say, well, there's something really crazy things happening. The naked RNA can do its job. The reason why naked RNA works so perfectly in terms of immune response, because RNA is an adjuvant. If there's RNA in the body, there's a real boosting of the immune response. That was the reason why it was much better than the liposome and trapped RNA, the naked one. And it was
Wow.
enough naked. I used quite a lot. It was enough naked that at least some of this RNA could get into the cells and could be expressed and then turned on the immune response.
Fantastic. And was it known before that, RNA can act as adjuvant to
Yeah,
immune system? It was known that
it
time.
was known. Yes, it was toll-like receptor 7 and 8 activism. Yeah, so it was known. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that was the aha moment. So when you found out that no, it can kind of do the job, you were like, wow. So this is. And what was the feeling like? Did you that time think about, okay, you can get a publication, or did you think that, hey, there could be like enormous therapeutic applications to this? What was in your mind?
Of course, we wrote a paper and published that, but nobody was really interested in this kind of subject at that time
Because it was
because
totally new. Yeah, it was totally.
and everybody was working on plasmid DNA at that time. So there weren't any risks on the DNA platform. Jesse Gelsinger died afterwards. So that was just the thing. After his death, was treated with a DNA therapy. After his death, then there were a lot of risk signals going on, and then people were investigating what happens and how to continue with the stable DNA. At that time, nobody was really working with RNA and with naked RNA. I was the only one working with naked RNA at that time. So it was kind of really free to think a lot about these things. But for me, I wanted to go to industry. I didn't want to do any university job, become a professorship, things like that. So I really want to push the thing forward. So I was saying, well, I have to go to industry and ask this guy to hire me to pursue the RNA world with them. So I went to a couple of companies and they say, well, no, we are not interested. You can do, of course, project management on our scientific programs if you want, or can do some marketing on therapeutics on the market. That's all fine, but we are not interested in RNA. So that was the reason why I went back to the university and say, well, if nobody else is doing it, I will do it. And so therefore, I was founding a company without any thinking, what's after that. So thinking to found a company, I was thinking, well, I have to do an MBA. So I was doing a kind of executive MBA in Krems in Austria. So then I can do work
But was
double.
it like, but Ingmar, just to interrupt, so you were
Yeah.
doing this executive MBA like via correspondence because you have,
No,
or
no.
you were like
So it was a
physical?
mixed thing. So it was a physical thing, but also some homework, of course. But there were some blocks in Krems in Austria, the Valley of Danube near Vienna. So we went there and were working together for 1 week, and then we were coming back in our projects. The good thing was that I could write a business plan as master thesis. So I was writing a business plan for CureVac, and I got a really good input from my professor. He was from the finance department, and he was helping me to write a business plan, which was really good at the beginning because I have no clue how to write a business plan at that time.
Wow, this is quite a unique journey, I must say, because, I think Reutlingen is not very far from Nordlingen. And I had once planned to have like admission into Reutlingen Business School, and I had got it.
Okay.
So because I was like, hey, what is the way to get, into industry? Because I wasn't getting, I was applying and I wasn't getting a job. So it's like quite relatable for me. But tell me, like, while you were doing an MBA, you already finished your PhD or you were pursuing a postdoc?
No, I finished my PhD.
Yes.
And we had luck. There was a half position from the Land of Baden-Württemberg granting a half position for innovation. So it called Young Innovators. This was this. So nothing changed. I got a half position in my PhD work as well, and I could just maintain the half position and doing my own work. And this gave me a lot of freedom to work on my own, to go to the MBA school, doing the MBA, and doing more scientific work, writing patents as well. So this was a kind of, testing phase. There was not a real risk because I could use the equipment at the university. I could use the labs. So there was a really valuable thing of that salary wasn't that important, but that I could still use all the equipment and the clean room
Of
and
the
this kind
lab.
of things. So they're obliged to give me the space there. So I got a space there. I could really work there. And also Florian, my co-founder, was doing the same thing. So together we then could really fund the company in a safe space environment. Could be also failure, then nothing happens. We just lose 2 years, but it's
And
okay.
you don't lose 2 years because you had this
No
MBA and
lose.
plus,
Yes,
it's experience. So
exactly.
there's no, but
Exactly.
this is so amazing. And Florian, okay, this is beyond the podcast, but like Florian was a PhD mate of yours, or how did you meet
Yeah.
Florian?
In the same lab. He was a
Okay.
biochemist, and he was very accurate in things what he was doing. So he was really writing in very small letter. I couldn't read anything, and maybe he neither, but he was really documenting every step, and I was really weird. So sometimes I couldn't really read, and I couldn't really get things together what I've read, what I've wrote there. And Florian was very accurate. So I say, well, I need an accurate guy because I'm kind of, very jumping on something, running apart, but not really thinking too much on what I'm doing.
So you are
And
the risk taker there,
I'm the
right?
risk taker, yeah. And I need somebody who was working and doing the dirty work for me. And this was Florian. So
Wow.
this was really nice. And the thing was, during the PhD, I am a sailor, so I like very much sailing. And I thought, well, let's do a kind of conference. We were all sitting in the labs and really not really knowing where we should go and what's our future. So I say, well, let's spend time together on a boat and really try to evaluate to discuss what's the next steps, where we should go. And we also got sponsorship from the Kreissparkasse, from the local bank here. Therefore, we had to pursue that. And
How did you meet Florian? Was he your PhD mate or you met him accident?
yeah, he was a PhD mate in the same lab, and he was really accurately writing everything down. And I was kind of a little messy guy. And I was looking for somebody who is really accurate in things. And so, well, the thing how I get him was that I was organizing a sailing trip the 1st of May in the Eastern Sea, and it was kind of stormy thing. And the reason was I really want to know my colleagues, who is the best to be part of the company. And so we had a lot of troubles there, and we had a really storm. And the only guy who was really resilient, just sitting there doing nothing, was Florian. The others, they were kind of, well, I feel uncomfortable. We should really go, and I don't want to go. Continue. I'm fearing. We're sinking, and
So
this kind of
everyone
things.
else gave
Yeah,
up basically, and he
yeah.
was the one who
And we
stayed there.
really had troubles, and I wasn't really a good skipper as well. So it was my first time alone on a boat after my graduation as a skipper. So, and I really had to play around, consciousness. So I really had to say, well, I know what to do. And actually, I didn't know exactly what to do. They don't really panic. Yeah, it was close to a panic, the whole board, because we really had a storm. We really had to fight to reach the harbor. But I liked really Florian. He was just there, resilient, and nothing really doing, and just keeping calm. And therefore, I think I need exactly this kind of guy, keeping calm, doing his work. And I think it's a really good co-working. So therefore, I asked him to join CureVac, and he was already, before getting a job at the pharma industries. He had already an approval there. Florian applied for a job in the pharma industry, and he got approval already. And then I was saying, well, Florian, if it's not really working, let's do at least the 2 years where we have the university Junge Innovatoren job, try our best, and then you can go to pharma industry. It's no issue. And I was saying, yeah, okay, let's try together. So this was really the best thing I could really done, because the team building is so important to get the right people on the team. It shouldn't be like yourself. You shouldn't reflect yourself. It should be something different and different skills.
Complementary.
Yeah, complementary, exactly. And should be always based on strengths of people, not on weaknesses. You can ignore the weaknesses. You have to work on the strengths and build on the strengths of people. And this was kind of the real success factor of founding this company. And so we went on, and we had some kind of business angel things, and a guy from Scotland was coming, and he wanted to invest the money, but he was just sending the money without any contract. So I was really wondering, wow, this is a kind of mad guy. He really
Wow.
believed in us. And he was, it was a kind of 100,000 euros. So it was quite okay.
That's a significant money.
Significant money for the beginning. And then he was doing roadshows with us. We went to a couple of venture companies around there, and it was kind of really missuccessful. So we didn't have any single success there. They all were ignoring the thing and say, well, if it's so great, why people in Boston weren't pursuing this RNA stuff? No, you're the only ones in the whole world doing RNA stuff. The young guys, the young PhDs, we don't believe you. So this was kind of the
challenge. No, but Ingmar, we will go into this building of CureVac, but I wanted to jump in, go back a bit. Because, of course, it's a very tough thing to build a company. And even tougher at a younger age is to do your PhD and stuff like that. Because, you are also financially not at the best, compared to friends who are working in industry. So tell me more about your family background. Were you rich, or were you just a typical middle class boy, or you were just driven by, a big dream that, I can build this company and this will be successful. So what was running in your mind? What was your financial situation? Tell us more about that.
It was not a very good one, because my parents, they were building houses and they invested all their money in the house building. So there wasn't really money left for me. So I had to fund my studies by myself. I was doing kind of rescue driving in the holidays. So night shifts I was doing in Tübingen and Nottingham as well. So I was really financing my study more or less selves. And we didn't get the funding from the government, because my father had enough money, but he put all this money into the housing. So there wasn't really left for me. But it was okay, I found a solution, and I'm really resilient. So I got all the money I needed. This wasn't really an issue for me doing this kind of work.
All right.
Besides,
Just to understand everything, because you were after your PhD, you were sure that, because I am not getting a good chance in the industry to do the kind of work that you would like to do. RNA thing. So you thought like, okay, let me do an MBA. I will write a business plan and then I will reach out to investors. So this was clear at your PhD, after finishing your PhD itself, or this you learnt about getting to angel investors and VCs during your MBA. How was it?
It was after the MBA. Actually, in the
Uh-huh,
MBA, I was just doing the work at the beginnings of CureVac, the lab work,
uh-huh,
and the
uh-huh.
MBA. I was doing kind of week-wisely. So, and only after that, when the business plan was ready, so when the master's thesis was accepted, then I was ready to go out with this master's thesis and financial planning and so on. And then we went out to different business angels, and one Scottish guy, he invested into us, about 100,000 euros or
And
D-Mark, I
how
don't
did you
know.
find, yeah, how did you,
Well, it was online, kind of online matching. There was a matching platform, so and I wrote just a proposal there, and he was interested and he was contacting me. Yeah, but it was actually a business devil because he was sending the money without any contract, and I was
this
thinking,
is,
wow, a brave guy that he's sending money to his unknowns in Tübingen, and then we toured around. We did pitching in Munich, exactly in ventures, and we failed. We desperately failed. And so then in his mind, it was clear that we didn't get any money. So then he just wrote me a letter by his attorney, I want my money back. Yeah. So
like the
there's no
Scottish guy.
the Scottish guy. There's no contract. We got unlegally the money on our things. It doesn't really belong to us. He would never invest into this company. So this was a mistake, and we have to send the money back.
Give them back.
Otherwise,
Wow.
we go to
This
court.
is a drama, but this
Yeah,
is
it's a
a
drama.
drama. My
It was
wow.
really, yeah, it was a devil actually.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Things worked out, because we
Yeah,
find
but
always solutions. And the
absolutely. So
solution
what was
was
the, yes,
we went to the local bank in Tübingen, to the Kreissparkasse, banks not taking any risks. They're financing houses, housing, and not really investing into biotech. And I just went to them and say, I need 100,000 euros because we have to pay back the business angel. And I can't get you any securities. I have no house, I have nothing, I have no value. Also, my parents, there's already secured to the other accounts, so there was no anything left to secure. And the guy there was just looking at me and say, "Well, 100,000 is quite a lot, but on the other hand, you're a PhD and you start your career. I believe that you will give it back the money." Yeah, he was really saying,
wow, this is
you're a
amazing.
PhD, so and if it takes 50 years, it takes 50 years. Of course, we have to pay interest for that, but
Yes.
but he trusted into us. We not going into insolvency. So therefore, as a private, he wasn't investing into the company, of course not, but he was
So you
investing
took
into
a
our private. Yes, a private.
so you took a private loan
Yes,
to refund the Scottish guy.
yeah, exactly.
But Ingmar, you were very brave. Because,
Yeah,
just coming out of PhD when you have no financial backup, taking 100,000 debt on private, this is like, I mean, and this guy, so when he gave you money, like without a contract, like, did you not go to court or because,
I think he could have gone. I was trying to get some advice, some legal advice, and they were saying if there's no contract, it's his money actually, and then there's nothing why he should give us the money. It wasn't a present, so he had to declare it as a present or as a loan. But
uh-huh,
without any
uh-huh.
declaration, it's his money just on our account. So therefore, he can get it back. So that was the reason. Because I thought, if money's going to me, and he did this decision to submit the money into my account. Therefore, he was doing the mistake, and then it's his fault. But it was
Exactly.
my fault. I can't use the money. And he said, well, it was because we bought a lot of equipment there, and he was saying, no, I didn't accept to buy equipment for my money. You misused the money. So therefore, he was on the on the
Right.
on the right side. Yeah. So actually, we did a mistake.
But I think he did a long term.
Yeah, it was just a mistake from the beginner's perspective, and not thinking
No.
we need a contract. We need a contract for things like that.
Wow. I mean, looking back, of course, it looks now fun, now that CureVac is so successful. I mean, it is his mistake that, he could have really, increased his valuation of that money, but
Of
nevertheless,
course, now it was his mistake.
it was his
Exactly.
mistake.
He could earn
Absolutely.
kind of 100 millions. I don't know what. How many?
But coming back, because that time, what did you feel like going to the bank and everything? It must have been very hard.
It was hard.
Now, you know?
It was hard. But on the other hand, I was really confident that we will make it. It wasn't the end of the story for me. And I say, well, we just need somebody trusting in us, giving the money to us. And yes, and I was really confident. And I think the guy at the bank, he felt that the guy is very confident what he's doing. He's exactly knowing what he's doing. So therefore he trusted me. And I wasn't feared and nothing. I just said, well, yeah, we just need the money, and of course we will get it back to
Mhm,
you. We
mhm.
try our best to get it back to you. Yeah, and this guy
Fantastic.
knew, if CureVac fails, then they will go to pharma companies and industry. And he knew my doctor father,
Mhm,
Professor Jung.
mhm, mhm,
He was also having account. He had an account there. He's
mhm,
quite rich guy, and so he was thinking, well, maybe this is also a guarantee that
mhm.
things are going out in the right direction.
No, this is amazing. So tell me more. I'm so interested. So once you gave the 100,000 back, I mean, again, like you will need funds because you just bought equipments and stuff, right? So what was the second stage like?
Well, then of course we were trying to get some sales. So we were working on RNA. So we were
Mhm,
producing RNA, trying to purify the RNA and trying to finding customers buying this
mhm,
RNA. But as you
mhm,
know, RNA wasn't that much on the market there. People were transfecting dendritic cells. So there were cell
mhm,
transfection on RNA with RNA. And
mhm,
so we got kind of people like that ordering some RNA from us, so ready to use RNA. So at least we did we could
mhm,
generate a little sales
mhm,
perspective, but not much, not enough. But on the other hand, it kept us in the business thing. We had to do a website, we had to get a catalog ready where people can cross-mark what they want to order. We
mhm,
have to do a sales system, booking platform system, and this really was a kind of real company thing, not a kind of virtual thing, doing some science stuff and not thinking about really money because money
mhm,
is there,
mhm,
like a lot of venture-driven business. Let's just think about milestones. We really had to think about business from the very beginning to satisfy customers and also
mhm,
to go with reclamation. So if things not working out and the customers are asking, well, the RNA was not pure enough, so we had to document as well. No, you get the pure RNA. Here's a document on it.
RNA.
Exactly the sequence. So this was really a challenge for us, but it what helped us as a lot to really get professional there.
Wow, wow, this is so inspiring. And this is when you and Florian were there, or you already also could hire more people at that stage?
We also hired a PhD
Mhm,
student.
mhm,
So officially they were working with Professor Jung, but
mhm,
they were also paid by us.
mhm.
But they worked at a university and Professor Jung's lab, and therefore they could work also for us. So this was a lot of help in the beginning.
And was Professor Jung invested, like, also in the company?
Not invested, but he get shares of the company because of his investment from the university part to help us there to
Mhm.
stay at the university. Also Ansgar Grammensee, because he was very well-known scientist at that time, so we wanted to use his name as well. So he got also some shares of the company in the beginning.
Wow. And who coined the company's name CureVac? Because I really like it. So tell us the story about.
Actually, this was me. I know the
So right
name.
from the beginning, because
Yeah,
many times the name changes,
no, no.
as the company evolves. So it was okay.
I exactly knew it. We were in my private apartment. This was the office in the beginning
Mhm,
before Young Innovatoren. We just sit in the private apartment, and this was also the address of CureVac GBR. GBR was the primitive form of a business thing. So, and I said, well, Florian, I vote for CureVac. Cure like cure, and vac
mhm,
for vaccinating.
mhm,
Cure
mhm.
vaccinating cancer at that
Exactly.
time. And Florian was voting for Rengin, RNA engine. This was Florian's
Wow,
name.
okay,
Engine, engine. And I say,
Thank God
well,
you.
I was say, that's more focused on the molecule. I'm more focused on the treatments, of the coming
Yeah,
out.
on the
So therefore,
bigger
CureVac
picture.
was more in favorite of me. Of course, and then we say, well, with the RNA people, we also claimed this as a trademark, the RNA people. So therefore, Florian also
Mhm.
got his willness there that the RNA people, so it Rengens
Yeah,
people.
yeah, that's the sub.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
awesome. So okay, then you got your 100K loan solved, and then how did you kind of convince others? Because that time, I mean, now it looks easy, you know, with COVID and mRNA, BioNTech
Yeah.
success, but that time, I mean, convincing people in the RNA field would be like
Yeah.
very, very difficult. So how
Yeah.
did you go about raising another
Well, at that
money?
time, I was looking also for co-workers. So Wolfgang, who was with me at the MBA, he was in German a Förster, so a forest worker, and he was also doing the MBA, and he was very analytical, like Florian, but only on the financial things. And I was thinking, well, I need a critical mind on the financials as well. So I asked him whether he wants to join us, and he said yes. He also, say, well, for 1 year I can do this, and then we will see where it goes. And therefore, I'm doing this with you. And he went to the States into a conference, especially dedicated for startups there. And there he met a guy, he was a lawyer, Sven Riedmüller. He was a German guy, but living in the States. And he was the attorney of Friedrich von Bohlen. He was quite famous at that time. He was creating one of the first biotechs in Germany, was Lion Biotech. So he went to the Neue Markt, when the Neue Markt started with his biotech. I think he was one of the first biotechs who went up the roof, but also failed dramatically as well. He really failed. And Sven Riedmüller said, well, Friedrich, he's out of business, but he's looking to invest something because he's from the Krupp family, so from the steelworking family, Krupp, very important family, so he had a lot of private money as well. So then he matched the contact to Friedrich von Bohlen. And this was really the good angel in the end, because this guy we could really inspire this guy. And I knew when he came the first time to Tübingen to visit us, he had another guy with him. He was an attorney guy and kind of security guy, because Friedrich knows that if he's really interested, he's kind of blowing off, and saying wow and things like that. So he gets really enthusiastic about things. And therefore, this guy was just a risk mitigation guy to keep him back. And exactly this is how it worked. So he came in and not looking into my face, not really, I don't want to know anything. I just want to see the presentation now. Please show me the presentation, what you're doing. And I was pitching, and as I'm pitching, I was really into it. I was really, really fascinating seeing things. And this can happen, and we can really do a lot of things with RNA. We can go for cancer, go on infectious diseases, we can go on molecular therapy, getting defect genes replaced by RNA. And then Friedrich, really, I saw that his eyes was getting white, and then he was really saying, it's such a broad platform. You can do literally everything you want to do. It's a revolution. Um, wow! And then he was really into it. And then his friend Chris was saying, "Well, Friedrich, we have to go out now." Too fascinated. He said, "Price is getting high."
Hi.
So, and then he came in again, but I knew we got him. And then he's really investing by himself as private money a little bit. And he said, well, he helps us for getting other investments. And the good occasion was at that time that he met Dietmar Hopp, the SAP founder, the software company. And
Yes,
Dietmar Hopp
it's in.
is in
Yeah, I
Heidelberg.
live in Mannheim. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's,
So
yeah,
in
of
the
course,
area,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
So at that time, Dietmar was looking for investments in the biotech space, and he needed an advisor. So, and then Friedrich met him and they become friends together. And then I was saying, well, Friedrich, please organize me some of the good companies there in the space. And we were the first company presenting at his office in St. Leon Road. And then he was investing on the spot, I think 10 million, something like that. So it was really from that to that. It was such a
This is
great thing.
crazy. So
Yeah.
this is not like, okay, a typical, fundraise. This is like meeting
No.
the right person and
Yeah.
then, pitching in front of the right person and
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
You had, like, Ingmar, tell me, like, did you have all these plans to kind of invest if you were to get 10 million, or you had like less expectation, or you had plan like that? No,
Of
I
course,
want
we
10
had
million.
less expectations, but we were also planning not accurately. But we didn't really calculate the time for clinical trials we needed in the end. I think it took about 5 years for products launch. Of course, in theory, if you're a big pharma company, Bayer, then you might have this in 5 years, but not a startup. We have to establish everything. We have to establish GMP, good manufacturing practice. So the clean room area, things like that. This was also very important that we got the clean rooms from the city University of Tübingen financed. That's also interesting in the beginning because there was nobody in the technology park in the building because they proposed, they build a technology park and then a lot of companies will go in. But there was a neue Markt, everybody was kind of depressed. There was no company coming. So we will say, well, we go in, but we need a GMP lab. And they didn't know what it means. They say, yeah, we give you this GMP lab. And they really didn't know what that means. And it was a lot of money for the clean room stuff.
Well,
And we had a contract that was GMP named on it. And I say, well,
mentioned. So
that's,
they
you
had to give.
wrote, you have to. So this was also a kind of very, very nice thing. And this was also for Friedrich a good sign that we already achieved the GMP qualification. So we could really start on the spot. We just need the money for the clinical trials and for the manufacturing and things like that. But it was really a fast issue. And he liked this as well. And so we got this 10 millions and then we really go to the first trial within a couple of years. We got the first prostate cancer trial, for example, a non-small cell lung cancer trial.
But so again, coming back, so you had this 10 million, but you had this product already, like created for trials, or because, there's also a phase where like you have to first develop the product before you go to the trial, right?
But in RNA production is the same as sequence dependent. No matter what kind of, whether you do a prostate cancer vaccine or you're doing a flu vaccine, it's always the same molecule. That's the beauty on it. So the production is always the same, quality is always the same, only the sequence is different. And so you can go in any direction you want with the same molecule. So when you get a GMP product out of the RNA, you can use it for prostate cancer, you can also use it for flu or HIV or whatever. So that was the easy thing. So for us, it was more important to get access to the right patients, and to get a readout there and to get access to kind of healthy patients. And the thing in cancer is that we just get the very sick patients in the end phase of their cancer treatments. They got a lot of chemoradiation and a lot of other therapies and antibodies, whatever. And then in the end, they got some RNA thing, Therefore, it's very difficult to get a proper readout. It was the real thing that we couldn't get to the healthy people at times like a vaccine. So at the start, we had to go to the cancer patient and there was no other possibility there. So therefore, the results weren't that good. So it was a kind of mixed thing, You can't really say, well, it works or it doesn't work. You kind of like the beginning, you don't really know what happens. Some developed an immune response, but some didn't develop any immune response. So it was a real kind of struggle at the beginning. And so an Aufsichtsrat, so we got a supervisory board created by some pharma guys, especially after Gates Foundation was investing into CureVac. So they wanted to get a really supervisory board there. And I had a lot of struggle with these guys, but I said, well, the best thing is if we do kind of vaccine business because it's easier to get to healthy volunteers, to get a readout there and not the cancer thing. And they said, no, we are only interested in cancer. The Gates Foundation said, well, we need to go for cancer first and then we can go to vaccines after. And I said, it's a wrong decision, but they still forced us to go further in cancer and not starting with the vaccines.
Vaccine.
So this was a kind of issue that we couldn't really get a proof of concept for the treatment of the RNA in a proper way.
But tell for the because many of our audience are of course PhD students and they understand this whole mRNA field much better, especially after COVID. But for a layman, what was your vision for CureVac in the beginning?
Well, it was cancer actually, because we were coming from a cancer lab. It was because vaccines that were available at that time. Everything was available. There was no issue with vaccines. So we were really interested in cancer. And the thing is really, you can follow up the cancer. So if there's mutations in the cancer, you can just adapt your vaccines, And I really like the idea to entertain the cancer cells in the body, They grow, of course, but if they're getting entertained and pressure from the immune response, they're hindered growing somewhere and they hide themselves. But it can get kind of chronic disease, if it's not growing anymore, it's just trying to hide all the time because a lot of pressure from the immune system is coming. Then it can get a kind of chronic diseases. This was kind of a dream in the beginning when I think, well, let's make a chronic disease out of cancer.
Wow. So that was the whole vision, was focused on cancer. And then you thought like maybe vaccine is the better field, but still Gates Foundation kind of wanted you to kind of focus on cancer.
It's not a better field, but a proof of concept thing. I've said we should really reach in a human being to reach a kind of proof of concept that RNA is translating in an immune response.
No, makes sense. No, perfect. So, okay, now more on leadership. Like, so you got this 10 millions, then you maybe hired more people, right? And how did you build your early team? And what kind of people did you look for when you kind of, hired?
Well, we had a lot of PhD students from the very beginning because we couldn't afford the expensive trained people from the pharma industry, and we were nobody, so nobody really knew our name. So therefore, it was difficult to get these people on board. So therefore, we were a really young team, inspirational team, but also a team doing mistakes. Had to learn
Yes.
by their own mistakes. So this was also very important at the beginning. And then after we growed more and more, then we got more experienced people as well, especially after Gates Foundation was investing. Then there was a big name on our roof, so therefore also more experienced guys were interested to come there. So it was a good mixture somehow here.
And Ingmar, how do you see, like, when was the turning point, like when you knew that CureVac could truly make an impact? I mean, of course, in your mind, it was always there, like it can make an impact. But was there any pivotal moments
Yeah,
in terms? Mm-hmm.
this was the Gates Foundation investment. So when we met Bill Gates in Paris, and he said, yes, will we do that? Then this was clear. Then there's a point of no return. Then it will be successful, more or less, later, sooner or later. Yeah,
And
was
may I
clear.
ask how Bill Gates got interested in you?
Yeah,
What was the yeah?
I think Gates Foundation was scouting a lot in the field, and they were interested on RNA as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, Biotech was founded at that time, so it kind of it was raising interest in the field RNA, and he was just looking for a smart company, and he knew Dietmar Hopp, so therefore he took his phone and he called Dietmar, and they talking about CureVac.
Mm-hmm.
And Dietmar said, yeah, we were looking for kind of more investors and also some experienced investor as well, like you. Yeah, this will be a good synergy between the foundation and us. And so that was the reason why we met in Paris.
Fantastic. And how does this work? Because do they give like just like funds, or they also ask for equity in a company like Gates Foundation?
This was equity.
Mhm.
Normally they just give funds, but in this case he was getting equity as well. Yeah, he wasn't doing a lot of equity investments, but we were one of them.
Wow, fantastic. So how much did your MBA help you in, like, being the CEO of the company?
Well, it wasn't really the hard facts because I thought
Mhm.
I should work on the financials. I should really learn on how to do the
Mhm.
financials and things like that, the planning stuff. But this is quite obvious. It's quite logic. For natural scientists, it's not a real big issue. So therefore, I jumped more into kind of leading people, how to inspire people and how to use the strength of people
Mhm.
uh, and how to tell people what to do, how to steer the company and also how to work in difficult times. So this was more the things, the soft skills, so said, was more the things I got inspired with the MBA and also with different backgrounds of the people in the class. We had a lot of different people there sitting there and seeing, how they regard the problem and how they work on
Mhm.
solutions. There were different angles on that.
Mhm.
And this I liked also very much. So diversity of solutions obtained by people with different backgrounds.
Fantastic. So yeah, the world has, of course, seen the power of mRNA vaccines during the pandemic. What do you think is the next frontier of mRNA technology beyond vaccines?
Well, as a bright future, I think RNA can do everything, especially kind of longevity. This kind of
Mhm.
fashion word. Everybody is using this, and I really believe that RNA can contribute to that a lot because we can also interfere in a lot of processing and aging processes in the body, also with siRNA, so inhibiting RNA, and also
Mhm.
bringing
Mhm.
information to the body with messenger RNA. So this is a perfect mixture of somehow increasing and decreasing messages in the body, and you can easily adapt the things with the same molecule. You just have to analyze what is missing and then you
Mhm.
can just create an RNA and inject the RNA as a mixture with a library, we have to say. It's kind of really cooking books, allowing the body to cook its own meal, whatever it
So,
is, in pancakes or cakes or schnitzel or whatever. Can do
so
everything.
providing a recipe, just a recipe book, and then let the
Yeah,
let the body cook the
yeah,
proteins,
yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Wow. So the potential of
it's a kind of information. It's a kind of AI business, and that's also the thing I talked to Mr. I say, well, we do also kind of SAP thing, SAP for the body. So we are programming the body, and that's the thing. That's the really a value thing. The RNA itself, it's just a molecule, but the really valuable thing is the information. Also, in terms of patents, we patent the information, the genes, for example, which you want to apply there. So these are the very valuable patents. Methodological
Methodology. Yeah.
methodology patents are not that important in the end. It's more really coming to a product.
This.
Products patents are important things. And he liked that. Therefore, he was really also willing to invest because he understood what were we doing. So they were kind of similar business to SAP. The company is doing the same thing with the industry, There's also the same systems like we do with the body.
Wow. No, this is amazing. So you coming to the patents, because you mentioned patents and we always read about, the patent war going between BioNTech and CureVac. By the way, I'm invested in CureVac. I am the shareholder because I also somehow believed in CureVac. And then there was I saw there's someone. So would you like to talk about these patent wars a bit?
Well, there's nothing much to talk about it. It's clear we were 8 years ahead before BioNTech was founded, so we had a lot of groundbreaking patents there. Beyond that, BioNTech didn't have. That's clear. And it was a real patent family. To me, it was very important when we founded the company. It was really clear to me that we have to write patents. That's the first thing before we publish anything. We have to write the patents. The first patents I wrote myself. I went to a library and getting a book how to write a patent because we couldn't afford any attorneys. So therefore, I was just doing how they do it, and I do it on myself, And when the first investors they wanted to invest into CureVac, they did a due diligence and they hired an attorney in Munich, Graf von Storch, and he read this patent and say, "Well, it's really crap. It's really crap what you're doing. It's not a patent. It's a kind of kind of nothing."
I mean, you wrote it as a scientist, right? Not as a lawyer,
and
right?
then I say, "Well, Graf von Storch, then you should write it for us and give us a discount."
Yes.
Give us at least 90% discount. And you will get the money back when we grow. And he was agreeing that. It was really great to say, yeah, I do it for nothing for you, but you have to pay me back. I believe in it. Yeah. And so therefore we started, and therefore there are very strong patterns because he's a very good attorney in Munich. He's really scientifically driven. He really understood exactly what are the main impact points on the RNA. So therefore, that's the reason why we had these strong patents BioNTech was struggling with.
And why do you think that, CureVac could not do what BioNTech could do? This is a tough question, but I have to ask this,
Well, actually, it's just one thing. It was the wrong technology when COVID was there, I had an aneurysm. I was in intensive care in Berlin, so I couldn't really run the company anymore. I was really out of business. And there was Franz Haas running the company, and he's a lawyer. He's not a biological background. That's the reason that he really not really getting the things that. And the other things I have to say, it was clear BioNTech was doing this modifications of Katalin Kariko. And I knew her very well because she wanted to get hired by CureVac. And I had a lot of discussions with the CSO at that time. And she didn't want Katalin to come because it was her position, which I can understand. There was a reason why we didn't hire her when she was really wanted to work with CureVac. But on the other hand, I was really interested in a cross licensing with BioNTech. So because BioNTech got the licenses from her, and they wanted also kind of license from us on a product. And I was talking with Ugo Sahin about the cross licensing process. And the reason was in the end that CureVac was because they were interested in two more things, and we were also interested in two more things. And Ugo said, well, if you do vaccines, you can use this technology, but tumors, you can't use it with our technologies. And I say, well, okay, it's better than nothing. So then let's do it like that. So therefore, CureVac didn't have to obtain any license for the vaccines. So this was also the weird thing.
Thinking about out licensing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it shouldn't have had been a problem with the license of Katalin Kariko. So CureVac could have worked in the same direction with BioNTech. I'm sure. First of all, BioNTech couldn't deny it because it was an emergency case worldwide. So therefore, there wasn't any issue in my eyes that CureVac were prohibited to use the same technology as BioNTech. And the real thing, the mistake in my eye was done that they ignored what BioNTech is doing. They just went their own way. And knowing, BioNTech is doing these modifications, I would have done at least a control pass in the clinical trial, phase 1 trial, to use the same technology than BioNTech and compare it, And the thing was, CureVac worked, but the other hand was the doses are much higher. So therefore, there was a dosing-related response in the patients. They couldn't go higher in the doses as they should have needed because they get a lot of side effects there. That was the risk. And they've seen it in the phase 1. And then I was wondering why they continued the phase 2 trial and phase 3 trial with these side effects. This was kind of, I don't know really what, and nobody could tell me why they did it and what happened there, because it's not just me, any scientist can can see the data and can interrupt and say, well, no, we can't go further. We have to change something. And then, of course, you have to change the thing like BioNTech is doing. So therefore, I couldn't really understand what really happened with CureVac.
Otherwise, things could have been very different also for my stocks.
Yeah, of
So,
course. Also for my stocks, of course.
yes, of course. No, nevertheless. So, coming back, of course, now that, now reflecting back, you will always realize that, we could do a lot, like everybody does mistakes, and now reflecting back, you would have time to recollect your thoughts on like what you could have done differently. So if you're starting, say, CureVac today in 2025, what would you do differently?
Nothing.
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 You
Really not. No. It needed everything, It needed the first business thing, that we think about business, earning money, that we don't get it for free, that we have to deliver something for our customers. Therefore, we were very focused in the beginning. Also, when we got money from Dietmar Hopp, we were very focused during the projects, like in the old fashion when we were on the market. So I think this is really also important, that you have to kind of get out of the academia world, being a business guy and doing business kind of work, and not doing just kind of research and publications. Doing research and patents, that's the thing. It's a different there. And the other thing is really to get people excited. That I love very much, to somehow getting to people and seeing how they get excited and collaborate with kind of excited people. So you collaborate not with results, you collaborate on the vision basis, and they believe the vision as you do. And then they see, well, we want to be part of this. It's so great what you're doing, how we can get part of it, of this kind of vision. And this was kind of what I liked very much, to inspire the people and get people on board, like Dietmar Hopp, Bill Gates, Elon Musk. So these are all visionary guys, and I like very much to get inspired by these guys as well, and inspire these guys on the other hand as well. So this was kind of the great things I was doing, and I love this very much. And this is very important all for all entrepreneurs, that you really have to reach out to people out there doing the same weird things like you do, and try to get into contact with these guys, get inspiration of these guys, go to conferences and speak with people in the field, and don't be shy. Be really open, and don't really want to sell in the first beginning. It's also, I don't like this if somebody spottings me and say, well, hi Ingmar, how are you? How are you doing? Well, this is my business card. I want to meet Bill Gates. I say, well, nice try. Nice try. No, it shouldn't be
So
like this,
first,
It
you
should be
want to
kind of
offer
really
some.
interesting.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. Like people, people normally have this inhibition of like they don't want to get sold. You have to offer them some value so that they become interested in asking you what you have to offer. Something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Exactly. You have to get the first personal contact and really interested in what he's doing, and not thinking about second thought, I just want money from this guy. And just thinking, well, maybe just interesting person, get to know how he's thinking, how he's problem solving, what is what he's into it, what is his vision, what his mission, and then, if you really drink a glass beer together and getting aligned a bit, then you can maybe go further and say, well, do you have any connections could be helpful for me? Just not only money, but also kind of knowledge and things like that. This is really nice. And then maybe people get open and say, well, yeah, I know somebody who is knowing somebody and who
Somebody.
is knowing somebody, and this guy knows Bill Gates.
This is fantastic. No, coming forward, now that you look your journey so far, which has been quite, quite fascinating, I must say. I mean, so much so that, you were like nominated for also for Nobel Prize and stuff. I was like reading on Wikipedia that, Ingmar could also be a candidate for Nobel Prize. Tell us how you feel on that.
I don't know whether I'm nominated. These are not officially written somewhere, so I don't know anything. Well, no, it's correctly given to Katalin Kariko and Drew Weissman
Uh-huh,
because they deserve it. This technology helped us in COVID crisis.
uh-huh,
What I did was kind of building block in all the things, but not really the vaccine what was working. So therefore they deserved it, and it's fine with me. It's fine with me because I'm not a scientist, as I said you. I'm just I like science and I
uh-huh,
can understand everything. I drive science forward, but
uh-huh,
I'm not doing science. That's the difference. And Katali, she was doing all the time scientific things, and she was coming from a very poor environment.
uh-huh,
Nobody believed her as well, like me, but she struggled a lot and she remained in the science thing. She remained in this very bold structures and not getting enough money, not getting much attention
uh-huh.
from the university. So therefore, it's really she deserves it so much more
No, no.
than I. And I really think it's not the right thing for me to get a scientific recognition. It's more a business thing, if
Uh-huh.
there's a kind of business prize and I achieved some of the business prizes, this I really like. Yeah. So yeah,
That's
that's the
correct.
thing.
Yeah.
It's my world. Yeah, exactly.
No, amazing. This podcast is more for PhD students or biology
Yeah.
enthusiasts who wants to kind of make an impact. So what advice would you give to, say, young scientists who dreams of translating their research into real world impact?
Well, I think don't focus too much on your career. I think just focus on things you're interested in and very good in, and don't really focus on the weaknesses. It doesn't, it will never become to strengths. Weaknesses will remain weaknesses. You have to deal with this kind of things. But focus on your strengths and focus of interesting things. And research can do so much interesting subjects. And even there's not a real business outcome in the end, but it drives a lot on your thinking, on scientific working, on scientific writing, on publications, and it focus a lot on your interest. And in the end, you can really say, well, I want to remain in science, or you say, no, it's not that thing. Then you can really go in every direction you want to go there. Especially if you do have a PhD, you can do everything. You can go into consultancy, you can go into pharma companies, pharma industry, or you can do completely something different. It's also possible because you're trained to follow your own thoughts and you follow your own skills. That's the real training in you, and you can just use it, and you should use it to become a happy life. I think happiness is much more important than money in the end.
Wow, I'm glad that you said that because, coming from a business person, sometimes because a lot of, we are all in rat race chasing money. And sometimes we plan to live rather than living currently, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that your advice makes a lot of sense that, hey, don't just plan on like building your career, but rather like doing what makes you happy or what, kind of you really want to do. Oh, that's fantastic. So,
And then another important thing is for me, it's being resilient because you have to face a lot of problems like everybody. It's just to have to cope with these problems. And resilience, I think, is a very important success factor for whole life, also in private life, of course, but also in business life. So you need to know how to get resilience. You have to analyze failures and you have really to think how to cope with the failures, what to learn on these failures. And you also have to get a strong belief that you will find always a solution, never get trapped somewhere. You always get a way out of it. And I think if you really have this in your heart, then you can really act strongly. Whatever happens, you will see, well, I have the faith in me. I can find a solution. I have no fear because fear is the most
debilitating thing.
exactly. Fear
Mhm,
destroys everything.
mhm,
You don't get anywhere. You get just stuck with yourself. Fear, we should really avoid the fear and you really should cope with fear. Of course, there's some fear, but you can work with this fear. You can say, well, I'm fearful here, but I will find a solution how to
over
adopt the fear and how to return the fear into boldness. I think this is a kind of lections is very important. Don't jump something without thinking about, really try to plan things and write down things and get the right decisions. It's also a very important success further to get the right decisions because, people are often hesitating decisions, because they don't like this to decide, and it's exactly if the kind of negative decision, if you have to get rid of somebody, for example, or if you have to talk about failures, it's kind of really bad feeling in you. But on the other hand, if you don't decide by yourself, others will do. Then others will drive you and they will decide for you and you have to follow these decisions. So the thing is really to be self-reflecting, that you do on your own the decisions by yourself before others can decide on you, because there will always be a kind of decision. Without decisions, it's no go. So there will be decisions always there, and you should be really control the decisions by yourself. That's the most important thing.
No, that's very important because we are sometimes stuck with just because we have not taken either positive or negative decisions,
Yeah.
but we are stuck with that. So
Yes,
that's
exactly.
very insightful. But coming back, you said like overcoming fears, but we all have our own fears. I'm sure like you have your own fears and like anybody. And what is your advice or what's your personal way of tackling these fears?
Well, kind of rational thing. I always doing a kind of plan B, a plan C, and a plan E. So I was doing always, this I learned in the MBA, I was always doing a positive scenario, a kind of exaggerate scenario, which I can't reach, or it's not possible to reach this, but I really want to think about, if really if gold is raining from the heaven, what I'm doing there. So that's a very positive thing, and then a kind of really and then a positive thing, and then a mediocre thing, and then a bad thing and a very bad thing. And the more you think about it, the
Wow.
more you can say, well, it happens very bad. I do this. Then you're prepared for this kind of, you don't really stuck and think, oh, what should I do? You plan it already, what you can do. And you swallowed it already. It's in yourself. So therefore you can easily adapt to the things. And this makes you very bold and strong because you already get the cases there, know the cases and know how to act in these cases. Helps a lot. But you need a kind of
No, this
calm
is
surroundings, and you need to get out of your comfort zone. So I'm going often outside my house. I going to a lake or to nature, and I was just sitting there with a clear agenda. I have to solve this. I have to do the very bad case and do very positive case, and I do the middle cases as well. Writing it down, and then I feel kind of relieved because it's already planned like this.
Oh, this is fantastic. No, thank you so much for this tip. Because, many entrepreneurs that I talked to, they said, I never had plan B. But, in hindsight, I feel that there's always like, what if it fails, for example? And you cannot always be sure that whatever you're trying will always be successful, right? So, no, fantastic. So you were like born in Germany, you have been successful in Germany. So you know the system here, right? Like the universities, governments, bureaucracy and stuff like that. So what is your suggestion to the policymakers here, Ingmar? Like how can universities and governments basically better support academic founders?
I think a big issue is the patent stuff. So lots of universities stick to their patents, and nobody is investing into the companies because the licensing is so high. So especially Max Planck is doing a lot wrong here. So I think they should give it free and maybe kind of small royalty payment if it works out, but not really to grab everything from the very beginning and do a lot of legal negotiations and things like that. It's far away, It takes 20 years. Patent just takes 20 years, and you don't know whether it starts within this 20 years already getting really kind of sales. So therefore, the patent thing should be more easily given to the founders. I think in contrast, when I found it, is a lots of more possibilities here. You get a Sprint is an agency from Berlin, a governmental agency helping founding people. They're giving also advice, and they're giving also some grants for the beginning, which is not that much. The thing is, it has to be a disruptive technology. So it has to be completely something new and high risk profiling technology. So for this kind of, and this is kind of science, we are talking about scientists, that's always a high risk technology. So therefore, a Sprint is a really optimal vehicle to get into contact and get first financing, and do also blended financing. So to help you to find other investors, if you have the Sprint planned, so if you have the approval of Sprint, it's much easier to find investors than without that. And the other thing is the EIC, the European Innovation Council. I worked there for a kind of time when they established it. This is also a kind of good instrument for not that much risk-taking investments. So I think it's much easier than when we started to get the seed money there. I think the more problematic thing is really then the second round, getting more money to get clinical trials done, to grow. Then you need really much more money, and that's more challenging. Yeah. So this is not the easy thing. Therefore, you need really have to obtain really proper data, bulletproof data from your seed phase to convince the other investors to invest into you. Also very important, the patents should be there. Really take a lot of careness on the patents in the beginning, because you never know what happens, You never know whether this technology works out as proposed, and then you need these patents. Without patents, nobody's investing into you.
So, I mean, looking back, what's one thing that you wish you had known at the start of your entrepreneurial journey?
I would wish I haven't known that it took 20 years before any product. When this was when this would have been clear to me, I wouldn't started the company. So I think it was easy to be a kind of naive a little bit, and I think I would really go in this direction to be a little naive. Don't worry too much and just go into the business. Problems, they will evolve, and solutions, they will evolve as well. But you really can't plan everything from the very beginning. Not knowing is a good thing in my eyes.
No, that's so important because this NVIDIA founder, right? And he was telling that if he had known that entrepreneurship would be so tough and so challenging, he would never start the company. So as you are saying, then that naivety is actually to your benefit, right? Like if not knowing what will happen is actually a good thing, right?
Exactly.
So that kind of keeps you, wow. No, this is so fantastic.
It's a kind of cold water. The more cold, the more successful you are, and the more hot, the more likely you will give up, because you will do a lot of mistakes. If you don't get into troubles in the beginning, you will do mistakes in the end when there's a lot of money in. Therefore, it's better to do the mistakes at the beginning with less money and really trying to find your own way before you do all the mistakes in the end. It's better than do it the other way, to start with mistakes and getting better and learn from these mistakes.
And so coming back, how do you see the future of CureVac, and how much of do you kind of still mentor the CureVac group, or how's your relationship with CureVac now?
No, I'm out. I'm completely out, and I'm happy that it's like this. I have no insights anymore into CureVac, and there's also no need for this, because I'm not driving it scientifically. I was driving it more economically or leading in a leading position, and there's no need for leadership there. Although CureVac is getting now to Biotech, so it's led by Ugo, and he's a good leader, and therefore it's all fine with CureVac.
Wow, fantastic. So Ingmar, of course, once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. So what's cooking in your brain currently?
Well, I'm just, I was under pressure all my life. I was close to death because of the pressure. So now really I enjoy my life, and I'm doing just things I wanted. As a CEO of a biotech, you can't do things you wanted. You always have to get the supervisory board with you, and you're guided by the supervisory board. You have a really limited space where you can really work. And now I'm really free. I can do what I want, and therefore I founded a foundation, beneficiary foundation, a Morpho Foundation. So we do projects with Florian, and we do just what we want. Nobody can tell us what we should do. And that's a good thing, because freedom is really important to me, was always important to me. And I suffered from this a lot, that I couldn't do things I wanted, because I always had to get pressure from investors, supervisory guys, knowing everything better than I do. And I don't like this kind of situation. I want to be free. This was also from the childhood, my very important thing. I wanted to be free. Yeah. So for all founders and people working in companies, really try to have enough room for your own space, and don't be really shy with investors, and try really to discuss and argue things, and don't go in a direction you don't want to go and they force you to go. I think I shouldn't do that. And this was kind of strengths I had, because I was very clear to my investors, I go in this direction. And therefore I had a feeling I was quite bold with these guys. And they say, well, Ingmar knows where to go, and we trust this guy because he's a bold guy. And boldness is very important also in regard to investors, to influence investors as well.
So, I mean, this is again so fascinating on so many levels to me, because on one hand, we all want to be, very successful, entrepreneurial, make millions and stuff like that. But on the other hand, you are saying that, this is a path that can also kind of break you in terms of like, health issues and stuff like that, because it just demands so much of, courage and time investment and mental investment. And now you're just seeking like freedom, right? Wow, this is amazing, because other day I was talking to another founder and he was telling that, he has founded a company that I wouldn't like to name. And since 20 years, the company is just 11, 12 people company. And I asked, like, why didn't you try to expand? And he said, hey, the whole reason that I started this company was that I didn't want to work under somebody, and I don't want to expand. I am like really happy with this, and it perfectly resonates to what you mentioned, that, now that, kind of you have done your job, you just want to have a free life. That is inspirational.
Well, difference is I didn't found a company because of me, because I founded a company because I want to get ahead with the RNA thing. So I wasn't really thinking about myself in this, because I was really forced to do this business.
So it was
That was
like
the
your
reason.
inherent motivation to kind of make an impact in the RNA world. So
Yes, exactly. And
wow.
to grow, for sure, we had to grow and get it bold and worldwidely somehow delivered the technology. Was from the very beginning was clear to me that I don't do it just because for my own reason, because I want to be kind of freedom or free from any pressures. I wasn't do that. I wasn't doing this because of this reason.
Wow. Yeah. Different purposes, different reasons, different
Yeah.
motivations. Yeah, absolutely. And why is that, so passionate founders are always like, like once they have like, made a big impact, they detach with it. I see that kind of detachment, Ingmar, which is also very surprising for me, because CureVac is your baby in in all ways, honestly.
Yeah, but as a teenager, close to being an adult. So next year, when the uptake is there, when Biotech is CureVac and CureVac is Biotech, then it's 18 years old. So it's on its own way. So it don't need any papa anymore.
Wow, that's
That's
a
the
good
thing with all the
analogy.
children the same. So you have to leave them at some time. You have to leave them. And they're doing their own decisions, and that's fine with me. It was clear from the very beginning
Huh?
that I wasn't growing with the company. I released it once.
Huh?
It was also clear when investors coming in, because they all talk about the exit. It's clear the exit is an exit. Also for me, it's an exit. So it was clear to me that there will be an exit sooner or later. And now it's the
Exit.
exit, and that's fine.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So now to the more, lenient or rapid fire round, this is more like a wrap up. So I will ask you a few questions and you have to answer that without thinking it much. Are you ready? All right. So your favorite scientist or innovator who inspires you?
Katalin Kariko, clearly.
Clearly, yeah, she has a wonderful, story to tell. A biotech innovation, past or present, you wish you would have invented?
Antibiotics,
Wow.
a long
Alexander
time
Fleming.
ago.
Absolutely. Your go-to way to clear your mind when you're stuck on a scientific problem?
To get outside, have fresh air and some white papers and a pencil, writing things down and really try to sort out things. That's very important to me, to sort out things. Before I do any decision, I will have to get a lot of information. I will have to reflect from every side, as every aspect. And then I'm doing a decision, and I won't deny the decision. I won't change the decision anymore.
No, fantastic. And one book that shaped you, basically how you think about science and leadership?
Well, it's more about leadership.
Mhm.
Science, as I tell you, it's read all the books in science, and I learned a lot, and I do the exams and things like that. But leadership, I really liked Hans Haas, the diving pioneer,
Mhm.
how he built his business and how he brought the cinema movies in this subject to the people, and how he built his expeditions, his ships and things like that. So he was really, when I was a small child, I was always looking on Hans Haas, how he did his things, and I wanted to be the same type of guy. And actually, I think I achieved it somehow in another direction, but I achieved it as well. I'm very happy about this.
And one word that sums up your journey with mRNA?
Always stand up again. Never give
Wow.
up.
Never give up. No, that's fantastic. Now coming to the lighter side, so just tell us more about your hobbies. What's your future plans? Of course, you should be focusing on, health and stuff. But apart from that, what makes you happy these days?
Freedom. So I really like to be free, do everything what I want, and I don't have to take care about money things as well. So I'm traveling a lot. I like India very much. As I told you, I always studied there. So we will go to India. I go every year for visiting people there. So I like really much to be free and don't care on any convention. So I just do what I want. Also in terms of the foundation. So live with this project. So we're doing really nice projects. For example, girls' educations in rural areas in India where girls from villages, they get education as nurses, for example. So there's a kind of medical aspect as well. We finance this and they can really grow in their own business. They don't have to marry a man. The man is guiding the woman. They can do what they want. Of course, they can marry, but they are some kind of
But they can do
self-confident
their no,
and
absolutely.
self-independent. That's really important to me. So enable people, to find the best in their lives. That really makes me happy. So lots of projects are going in this direction to enable people to reach a new stage in their life and then to have energy really to work on themselves, kind of guidance or learning things, education things. And the foundation is always investing projects which lead to another stage. We don't want to invest that money is going there, for example, to buy milk for babies or things like that. So we really want to achieve something that they can get independent from it by their own work. So we want to ignite something, to enlight a kind of thing, and then they find their own way. That's the thing I really like much, and therefore I'm really into this kind of projects. I really like them. I also want to visit them by myself and seeing what's going on there, and this is really gives a lot of back. So I really get a lot of strong
Happiness.
power, happiness, and power back, much more than I give to this kind of things.
Tell me, how did you first go to India and how did you get associated with the Indian cause?
It was 88 after my school, and I had an uncle. He was professor here in Tübingen at the university, and he came from Australia. So he was 1 year doing research in Australia, and then he traveled through India to Germany back. When he was there, coming to Tübingen, I was there as well the same evening when he was coming. And you know what? He was just talking about India. So he was so fascinated from India that he didn't really talk about a year in Australia because he was talking only from 1 week in India, where he visited a scholar, so a PhD candidate, an Indian. So he visited this guy, and he was so rich, and therefore I was really into it, and was saying, well, if this professor, if this my uncle talking that much about India, I have to go there. And this was the reason why I thought in 88 I should go to India and to the States like everybody else is going. I really want to go to the real India. And 88, India was really real India.
Yeah, yeah,
It
absolutely. There was
wasn't
no development,
like it
nothing.
is
Yeah.
today. No.
So you said you had mentioned about this Madurai Kamraj University. So what took you to Madurai Kamraj? Was it during your PhD or?
Yeah, it was actually before my PhD work. So I had to do a practical course in the end of my studies for half a year, and I was deciding, well, I go abroad. I go to Tamil Kamaraj, and I asked Wolfgang, my uncle, where should I go? I really want to work on microbiology or on leprosy. Was very interested in HIV kind of things. So then he asked his former comrades or his former colleagues, and then they accepted that I come there. So it was Madurai Kamaraj at that because of this occasion. And at Kamaraj University, before I met Rübsam Weigmann, she was working on HIV in the 90s. She was very prominently working on HIV. She was very famous in television and things like that. And I met her and I asked her, I'm going to India. Are you interested in kind of samples from India, blood samples there? I can collect them for you. And she was agreeing that she will send all the equipment to me to Madurai, and I will have to collect this. But it has to be shipped in 1 day back to Germany. And this was the real trouble there. It wasn't that difficult to get blood there because we had a lot of healthy people. So leprosy patients and healthy family contacts, and she wanted to investigate with the healthy family contacts. They developed some antibodies against HIV. So therefore, the real challenge for me was, and this was also in terms of CureVac, was to organize all the things. How to get the things in 24 hours to Germany. And this was
It's
India 1990.
8.
Nee, was India 1997. So, so this was a real thing. So talking to the officers from the police, from the customs, and the airline stuff, how to get the stuff in 24 hours. So then I hired an agent, an Indian agent, and we went to the offices, and he was putting money into
Everybody, he was
into the
bribing
pockets of
basically.
the
Yeah,
people.
he was bribing. Yes, this
That was the
worked.
only thing how to get
Yes,
things done.
unfortunately, yes.
Gratefully that I got this guy. So therefore we obtained it, and I was very proud of myself and of this work, how to make this really happen, to get it with 24 hours the blood from India to Germany.
And in the first visit, how long you were there in India?
In 88,
Yes,
3 months.
3 months.
3 months.
That's like you were not like a tourist, but kind of you explored the culture
No,
and.
I was a kind of traveler. Yeah, I was meeting some scientists of my relations to my uncle there. Somebody was working on cell culture at that time, so I was visiting. He was in Pune, and then I went also down there in direction to Madurai. But I didn't really visit the guys in Madurai, or I didn't remember whether I visited this guy. But I just, I had some connections. I visited the people there.
Fantastic. And now coming back to your foundation, so tell us more about the foundation and what you mentioned that you do, like, you basically try to make Indian ladies independent, which is very much needed. So this is a great cause. But how this idea came, and tell us more about your foundation.
Well, we have two major tasks. The one is kind of music education, cultural things that especially children here in our area, they get access to spiritual, cultural events. It's a kind of self-finding thing in school, that they know what they like, what they dislike, and things like that to help these guys. It's also dancing and singing and instruments like this. But that's just the one arm of the foundation. The other arm I'm into that is kind of health issues. For example, water, pure water purification in India, and water analysis exactly. Okay, so chemical analysis, pH and nitrate and things like that. So these are also things, or wells, getting kind of well things, or sanitation, toilets, for example, in rural areas, kind of things. So that's our projects, more or less. Most are kind of related to a kind of scientific background. Purity of water, for example, or leprosy. We're also working on leprosy.
So when you say leprosy, Ingmar, so is it like leprosy curing leprosy, or no?
It's not, you can cure leprosy actually. It's not an issue anymore. Have to get just the right medications. It's more the issue that people with enhanced leprosy, mostly old people, they lose their feet or hands. They're kept out of the families and they're left alone. And these people, they're collected in a kind of monastery with nuns, and they live together and help each other. I think I like this very much, the spirit that the old people, they're not left alone or they dismissed from home. They're somehow integrating in the new community and helping as they can do, and they have a meaning of life there again. And this I like very much. So it's not kind of curing; it's kind of make the life better of this kind of patients, because they are very, very old patients, so they had more than 20 years leprosy. I think nowadays not that much anymore get really. They
Leprosy,
get
yeah.
maybe infected, but they can get cured during the disease.
And you are active just in southern India, or you're active also like complete India?
No, the water projects there in Bihar, for example. For me, it was the first time in Bihar, and
Yes.
it's a really remote area, I have to say, really remote. So
Yes.
it's a lot of things to do there.
So, fun fact, I'm born in Bihar, so fun fact. So I'm so
Okay.
astonished that you know Bihar, because so you have traveled to Bihar. Which part of Bihar?
Yeah, yeah. I think we were in the tribal areas,
Mhm, mhm,
Avadasi area,
mhm,
border to Orissa, this
mhm,
area. So we do some tribal work there, and this was really nice to be there because they were all dancing, and it was a really nice community. And they're doing also kind of well digging in there, and they think about the water quality,
mhm,
purification of water, toilets. So these are in the tribal areas there. Down to then in the north of Bihar, there were some education projects, some schooling projects. Exactly, for example, the women education was in the north of Bihar.
And if somebody wants to kind of contribute or want to associate themselves in terms of whatever labor or in many ways to your foundation, how can they support you?
There's no need actually. So we have all the money we need, and we are really focused. And there's also no interest to remain it. We just it's just alive until the money is went away. This will be the next year, and it's fine. And in collaborations, we do this as well. So we collaborate with other foundations. It's always a kind of paperwork thing as well. So it's nice to join forces. But on the other hand, you're dependent on decision making and things like that. So I don't like this. I really want to be kind of self-confident or
Sufficient.
how can I say, self-driven.
Mhm.
Because we also reached out to the Gates Foundation, and this is not really fitting because I know them, these guys, and the Gates Foundation is dealing things differently with tons of money and strong bureaucracy behind everything, and we are kind of lean foundation. We speak to people personally, and if we like the people, then the people, they will drive things, and they find solutions, even if it's not reported like this. But I like more the people by themselves. That's kind of investment criteria, that I really like the people and I trust the people, they will drive it the right way.
Fantastic. So your future endeavors are like more into, this social stuff.
Yeah. Just let it go or let it come. I think I did everything in my life
Absolutely.
I could do, and now I have I have no obligations anymore. This is really nice. So this I like very much. I can do what I want. I'm completely free to do what I want, and this enriches my life a lot, I have to say.
Any final message that you want to give to our audience, mainly PhD students?
Yeah. I think follow your dreams, whatever they say. Don't believe others. You have to do it by yourself and be happy. And don't follow the money thing. It's also wrong, in my opinion. Just follow your own wishes and your own dedications, your own vision, dedication. I think that counts most in life.
Absolutely. Wow. Fantastic. You have been really kind and patient with me. Thank you so much.
And I really like, as you can see, I really like to inspire people like I got inspired when I was kind of young. It's very important. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Manish.
Have a nice
Bye-bye.
evening. Thank you, Ingmar. Bye.
Bye.